say? Yeah. What's good, y'all? It's your boy Shannon Keys. Welcome to Shannon Keys Official. We're going to be reacting to some creepy alien style TikToks today. Do want to shout out 27 subscribers, still on a goal to 100. You can link us up, hit us up at Gmail, at Shannon Keys Official at Gmail, or you could direct message me or personal message me on Instagram at Shannon Keys Official as well. We appreciate the support. We're going to get into this. Just remember, this is an environment where we're all just kind of trying to absorb information. You don't have to agree with anything. Use your own discernment. I just enjoy looking at this type of stuff. Let's get into it.
Did the Anunnaki fully leave this planet?
As far as I know, they were recalled because what they did, as in my understanding, as Bashar has explained it, what they did, they shouldn't have done. They weren't supposed to genetically engineer the native species at all. And therefore, by having done that to aid and assist them in their work, I think my understanding of the story is that they were actually recalled. And then the rest of the Anunnaki had to sort of guide us for a while to make sure we could sort of survive on our own. And that's where all the ancient stories of the gods come in that are intervening, with humanity and all that kind of stuff.
The giants too?
That's more the idea of the early Anunnaki actually mating with human women, creating the demigods and all of that kind of stuff. So again, not something they probably should have done, and we're obviously part of them. That whole story holds water. We're part Anunnaki. That's why our genetics are what they are. Why things could be very confused here for us. Why there's such a mix of people. So the story isn't complete yet, but so far that's what we've been told from Bashar.
What is the link with the Anunnaki and the Egyptians? Is there any link there?
There may be. That's more recent. The Anunnaki were hundreds of thousands of years ago. The idea, though, that they spawned, once humanity was kind of guided to a certain point, it spawned advanced civilizations like what we call Lemuria and Atlantis. Mm-hmm. And I think it's more the advanced civilization of Atlantis that affected the early Egyptian civilization and started giving them the knowledge they needed to build pyramids and all that kind of stuff that are still very advanced today until the knowledge was lost. But, the destruction of it.
If you don't know about the Anunnaki, please go look it up. There's a biblical reference to it that people say is the book of Enoch. So if you are familiar with that part of the Bible, the Anunnaki are supposed to be the sky people, an extraterrestrial race of people that came to Earth as a planet and basically like farmed humanity. And it falls into biblical stories about fallen angels and kind of mating with women. And then the Nephilim in the Bible, the book of Enoch, are supposed to be the Anunnaki, which are like the giant offspring of the Anunnaki, which is, you should go look it up, but definitely check it out.
Atlantis and all that caused a lot of knowledge to be lost over time. So we're only just kind of recapturing some of that now.
I'm curious about the correlation between our level of consciousness and the ability to hold information and the awareness of how the pyramids were built and rediscovering this information. Is it more of sort of like a parallel meeting place that happens with the technology and consciousness, or yes?
Yeah, I think Bashar has said, the level of technology that exists in any civilization is a marker to some degree of the level of their consciousness, because if your consciousness doesn't arrive at a certain level, you can't even imagine how to build certain things, how to do things.
That's crazy.
Now, the Atlanteans had a very high level of consciousness at a certain point in their history, as I understand it, and they achieved a lot of things, but they also achieved a lot of things that are different than the way we've achieved certain things. So we have yet to learn how they did certain things, although we have hints that they understood things about light, about sound, vibration, that allowed them to achieve a lot of interesting things. And we just have learned to do things differently. We have atomic power. I don't think they had atomic power, but they had vibrational power. Mm-hmm. They had an understanding of crystalline light power, and things like that. So, it's just a matter of how each civilization expresses what their consciousness does. The problem is that our consciousness is also compartmentalized. So we can have certain advances in technology and not necessarily be so advanced spiritually or morally, unfortunately. So we're trying to catch up, I think, to the idea that all has to be balanced out before we can really achieve a quantum.
So, and I do feel bad about cutting him, but I gotta say these things, otherwise I won't be able to say them all at the end. So, kind of where I feel like he's going with this, and what she was asking is, does consciousness and technology, do they meet like in a pinnacle, right? And he was agreeing to it, like, yeah, they do, but depending on what your consciousness provides, where you're at consciously. Again, he said they didn't have atomic power. We had the intelligence, right, and the technology to drop bombs that were the atom bomb, so atomic bombs, nuclear missiles that took a lot of lives. And so it's like that's where the intellect and the technology goes up, but the consciousness to drop a bomb that's gonna take the lives of a bunch of people, the consciousness isn't meeting in the middle, right? So I wanted to bring that up and mention it in here because I do think that there's a difference. There's a difference between being smart and having a lot of technology. Excuse me, sorry. Being smart and having a lot of technology, and then being conscious and having the it's the smarts as well, but like the intellect to use that technology for the better of everyone and everything. And that's like the consciousness, like the unity of one, right? Or the law of one, but everything being united and using free energy and doing things to make life easier for everyone rather than trying to be the step up on this, I don't know, this like weird totem of humanity.
Leap to the next level of understanding.
I want to go both sides of that. So first off, what is it that takes a civilization out? Is there actual proactive entities that make sure that a planet stays calm enough, or is it cataclysm? Is it asteroids?
Well, yeah, I mean, from Bashar's point of view, that's what wiped out Atlantis finally, was a comet hit the sea and tsunamis everywhere. And that, to me, is what he says, is that's the biblical flood that we're recounting, is the fact that a comet hit the ocean and there were floods that happened, widespread floods that happened from that, and it wiped out the last vestiges of Atlantis. But again, Earth is a place of cycles. There are cataclysms that happen in this reality that have taken out many different civilizations. I think scientists are beginning to discover that more than a few civilizations have been wiped out on this planet by a variety of catastrophes, including meteorites. So, it's like begin again, begin again, begin again. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of pyramids around the world and temples were built, is we're going to lose this information from time to time because that's just the nature of being on Earth. So let's build things that are almost indestructible, that contain all the information that people will need to rediscover, so they don't have to start from scratch. They just have to be smart enough to understand that this is a special structure and that there's something they can learn from it. And we have discovered, obviously, there's advanced mathematics in the Great Pyramid and other temples and pyramids around the world. And I think they were all constructed around the same time before the destruction of Atlantis, because I think some people knew it was coming again. These things work in cycles, So
you say that, and I thought to myself, what would I do if I thought that there was going to be some kind of fallout? And I thought to myself, where would I go if that happened? What would I do? And it'd be like, you just go inner Earth. Like, where else do you go? If you can't get off the planet, you go inside.
Right, and that's exactly what happened with the Greys. They went underground, and that's why they mutated into the form that they're in. It's why they have such large eyes. They had to see in the dark. So even though they had lighting, it's very sparse, because again, they were at a point where their civilization had pretty much collapsed. In scrounging together whatever advancement they had was the last ditch effort to shift to another reality, to save themselves. So they mutated in the way that they did by going underground.
Are they still there?
No, that's long gone. in their reality. I mean, again, everything exists at the same time, but linearly speaking, no, that's over and done with for them, because now they're here and they're creating the hybrids, and there may not be that many grays left, in fact, at this time frame.
So being here, being on Earth, on the surface, or in a ship nearby,
in ships,
on the moon.
Ships
Yeah,
mostly.
bases, underground, under ocean, on the moon, bases like that, things like that, from where they can operate with impunity. But, you know, we were, according to the stories, offered a lot of this technology, not necessarily from the Greys, but from other species back in the 50s, and we refused, again, out of fear. So, you know, they're doing what they can behind the scenes to save themselves and hopefully save us from going down the same path. But there's a lot of paranoia and a lot of fear to overcome in the powers that be, because they don't want to lose what they see as their power, even though it's not really an expression of power. But, you know, it's starting to come out. The cracks are showing, information is leaking out. And a lot of people I've heard on the inside are trying to get that information out as well, because they no longer believe it's really to our benefit to keep all of this hidden.
Inside, when you say inside, who is it you're referring to?
Inside the clandestine organizations that are privy to the information that we have crashed craft, we have alien bodies, that know what's going on with, you know, all of that. I think there's a larger number every day of people on the inside that are talking. There was just a Senate hearing recently by someone that was from the inside that said, hey, this is what's actually happening, folks. So you're seeing that more and more. I think people are refusing to keep this a secret because they know it's not to our benefit any longer to do that. It may have been a good thing to do just after World War II when everyone was really scared, but it's gone on for too long just because people are trying to do power grabs and stuff like that. It's no longer to our benefit, I think, to keep this a secret.
Did the Anunnaki?
It's going to be difficult not to go on this tangent right here. I'm going to have to run that one back. It's going to be difficult not to go on this tangent, so I'm going to do my best. First off, shout out to, I think her name is Danica Patrick. She was a NASCAR gal. I've seen her in a couple of videos with some other people, Dr. Stephen Greer, some other people that like channel, just some other videos that I've watched that I just enjoy their conversation and the questions asked, and I just like to hear the responses. But shout out to Danica Patrick, because she's been doing a lot with this, especially the spiritual side of it. As far as that, everything that gentleman said goes, I was raised in a church, you know, Baptist, Southern Baptist, very religious, where like channeling doesn't exist. There's no such thing as channeling from where I was raised. The only entities that aren't worthy of praise, right, are like the devil's entities. So that gentleman that you just saw, he does this technique where he channels a higher being when he like meditates, and I guess the idea of it is that you bring your frequency to your frequency is where how fast your cells vibrate, and then there's all these chakras starting in your root chakra going all the way to your crown chakra. But if you like work on all that and your energy is releasing evenly and well in each spot, that eventually builds up to your pineal gland or pineal gland, which is your third eye, then you have this higher energy, and so you have a higher ability to communicate throughout the cosmos or throughout the universe. And so some of these people are pure enough, or they vibrate high enough for another entity to channel through them, which, again, being like religious, the way I was taught, that's called possession, right? You would call in like a priest or someone to exorcise the demon. But with some of this type of stuff, again, it's just intriguing to think, you know, if there is a race of extraterrestrials that can communicate this type of information to someone about whether it's the Anunnaki or the caverns inside the earth. I do, and again, I knew this was going to get long, but I'll be done right after this. So with all that being said, I just want that something, if it's in your mind, just know you're not alone, all that other stuff. But one of the things I did want to mention for sure is that if you're not aware that there's just like they in the world, and everyone always uses the excuse like, who is they? You can't name them, right? That's how they do what they do. But there's like 3 large corporations. I know it's like BlackRock, Vanguard, and there's another one. And between there's like, I don't know, maybe up to 5 of these global corporations that own global banking system. If you track the companies from Gerber, the pharmaceutical companies, tobacco companies, hospitals, dentistry, just anything you can imagine, gas, oil, exactly all the necessities, they funnel, right? They funnel all the way up into this couple of businesses or companies. And the whole idea of free energy is something they can't afford. They literally cannot afford for it to exist, because they've made their trillions upon trillions and hundreds of trillions of dollars in this monopoly where they're always at the top, and then they just buy out businesses. So again, I love listening to stuff like this, and I'm sorry I went on that rant, but I got to let it be known that part of the reason that information like this seems so plausible for me is because I've seen how money hungry people can be, and that's just at a basic level. That's not even at a global level. I can't imagine what people would be willing to do or hide, or who they would be willing to hurt to maintain their dominance in our economic global society, when there could be free energy. That's what's crazy.
2023.
Did you know Enlil, also known as Yahweh in biblical text, is an Anunnaki alien who masqueraded as God in the Garden of Eden? Enlil was a formidable warrior commander of the Anunnaki and was bestowed dominion and ownership over the earth and its newly modified human inhabitants. These Anunnaki were false gods and did not create us from scratch, but genetically altered our ancient cousins who were already here on the planet. With newfound authority, Enlil forged a sanctuary called the Garden of Eden, and he was known as the Lord Satan of the garden according to the Sumerian text. This encampment was an outdoor laboratory where these new genetically modified humans could grow and multiply, sheltered from the outside hominids and Neanderthals who lived outside Eden, distant kin to humanity. A sprawling outdoor laboratory was vigilantly guarded by armed angelic Anunnaki, tasked to allow neither entry nor exit, and would kill on sight if seen.
Does anybody even realize how serious this story is?
Crazy.
And I'm not telling you I believe this story. I'm telling you what it means. In the Bible, when God created man in his own image, he created man and woman in the Garden of Eden. And then when they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, of course, God ended up banishing them from the garden, had flaming cherubs with flaming swords left in front of the gates to guard the Garden of Eden. And this story, let's say if this story was true, and the Bible refers to Satan as the god of this world and prince power of the air, the god of this world. The reason being is because of lust and things like that. Greed. He's the god of the world, worldly things. Jesus said you can't love God and love the world. And if you're a lover of the world, you're in enmity or an enemy with God. If this story is true, and the Samaritan text is older than anything, even older than the scrolls of the Bible.
Yeah.
If this were true,
and that means,
and which I need to research it more, being honest, if this were true, this would mean that the Anunnaki altered the primates' DNA, created mankind as a slave race, and that this Anunnaki that paraded as God was a fallen angel, and that Satan created mankind for his pleasure for the earth in the garden. It said that we were genetically made from them. If that's the case, that would mean Satan would be our God. That is not a good story. God forbid this ever be true.
I know a lot of people that might watch this won't like that. But again, I just got done talking about it. Coming from a religious background, I have heard of that before too. So the ancient Sumerian texts are the tablets that I believe they predate the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I believe that they have something to do with that. And I don't know. I don't know how they go and read hieroglyphics and stuff. That throws me. It'll never make sense how that even happens. But throughout translations from, I believe, Zechariah Sitchin was the first one. And now I learned about it from Billy Carson is his name. But from the way that the scrolls and everything goes, the Bible isn't supposed to be manipulated by worldly people or earthly things. That's what God has stated. But start off the King James version. King James was a pretty ruthless king. I don't know, 16th century or something. I think I could be wrong, so don't hate me. But he also published a satanic Bible. And one of the things Billy Carson had said that really made me think was, if Lucifer was the second hand of God as an angel, he was a genius. He was a master of music and manipulation. I've always been frustrated that he gets control of our realm of earth. But on top of that, if he's in control of the earthly things, why wouldn't he create a name outside of Yahweh or Yeshua, right? Which it turned into Jesus, and have people praying and worshiping something that isn't the source through a Bible that isn't the way it was supposed to be communicated. I don't know. And if you do know, let me know in the comments, because this is the type of stuff I love that keeps my brain running.
Narrowed down where a hypothetical ninth planet could be in our solar system. According to astronomers, Planet 9 is expected to be many times the size of Earth and orbit the Sun far beyond Neptune. The astronomers say that the astronomer is actually the same astronomer who led the campaign to demote Pluto from a planet to a dwarf planet. Now looking to fill that Planet 9 void, the astronomer claims that there's only a 0.4% chance that Planet 9 does not exist.
So we'll get right into it. Our first two speakers are basically going to talk on the subject of Planet X. And we have Mr. Jason Martell here, who has been talking about the Planet X for some time. As a matter of fact, 15 years. Mr. Martell holds regular discussions with NASA scientists on the subject of Planet X, ancient astronauts, and structures on Mars. There's great evidence that has shown that in our solar system, the planet Nibiru passes through our solar system.
The time when Hubble first imaged a planet around another sun. Now, this isn't our sun, and this isn't, our solar system, but this planet had an egg-shaped orbit around its star, and that was very interesting to astronomers because that was one of the first times they'd actually seen a planet that had an elliptical orbit, more of like an egg-shaped, elongated orbit. So there's been a plethora of news releases stating the idea that, hey, some astronomer somewhere is reigniting the idea that there is something in our solar system that deserves further study. There's evidence to suggest that there's some large body that maybe has caused effects in the past, and we'll discuss some of those, or could be incorporated into our planetary model now to say, yes, there's another large body out there. So we've seen all kinds of news releases coming out in the media for the idea of a 10th planet. Now, where it gets interesting is Zachariah Sitchin. He's 84 and has been studying ancient languages, Hebrew Bible, the Christian Bible, the origins of biblical texts for about 50 years. And in his research, he came across a term called Nibiru. And Nibiru meant planet of the crossing. And it was a planet talked about by an ancient culture, the Sumerians, the first culture we have record of on Earth. And they described this very large planet in our solar system.
A NASA telescope discovers a massive object orbiting a distant star.
It's not like anything we've seen before.
Whatever this thing is,
I can't wait to.
It's bigger than any planet in our solar system.
It's beyond human scale.
Evidence points to an artificial structure.
This is truly amazing. And if this structure is real, we're going where no one's gone before.
All right, so a couple things on that one. If Nibiru is really the 9th planet, right, and it makes this, you gotta believe that there's space first. And I talked about it in one of my other videos. I'm starting to struggle. I might be a flat earther. There's a lot of evidence behind it. The other side of it, the global Earth, it is confusing to me. Maybe I don't know physics the way I should. But in order for planet Nibiru to be a spaceship or a solid object it's a part of our solar system, but it's in like a weird orbit. So it's not like a circular orbit like we are with our moon and around the sun. It's in an egg-shaped one, which means every now and then like every couple thousand years it passes Earth, but then it has this really long, the bottom of the egg-shaped orbit that goes all the way around a bunch of other stuff, and then it has to come back. That would be the planetary body / spaceship that carries the Anunnaki, and that's how every couple thousand years they rotate back and kind of check on their bioengineered humans. And they were the Sumerian gods that came from the sky, which is what Anunnaki means. And then that would have been where the giant race came from, is when they made babies with the humans. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. It's a lot, and that's why I love listening to it. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any responses to any of that. If you have any answers to any of that, please link me in whatever you'd like to. Don't forget to check us out on Instagram. I appreciate you joining the family. I'm still trying to work on a name for kind of the crew of people that watch. I don't want to do something corny. So if you have any suggestions on what we should name the gang, everybody that's a part of the Shannon Keys official page, let me know. But with that being said, I do appreciate your time. I hope all is well. Stay blessed. Keep your vibes high. And make sure you're doing everything well. All right, y'all. That was some Anunnaki, some creepy Anunnaki style TikToks. If you know some about it, or if you want to talk more about it, please hit me up on Instagram. You can DM or PM me there. Or again, you can hit me up on my Gmail, ShannonKeysOfficial@gmail.com. Either way, I do appreciate you taking your time. Thanks for jumping in. Let me know if there's anything that y'all want to see on the channel, or anything you got want me to question. I know I'd be doing my reactions, but I do my best to react naturally. They're unique topics, and I really like to talk about them. So yeah, appreciate you. Stay up. One love. Be well.
Yeah. See?